Hello, this is Claus Jensen presenting a video on Jeremy Silman's thinking technique. In his excellent book, Reassess Your Chess, he presents a tool that he believes is useful when you are looking for the right plan in any given position. And Silman admits that it may not be that easy to adopt this technique. It requires some practice, and that is indeed my experience as well. So I thought I'd do a video on Silman's thinking technique to help both myself and hopefully also the viewers to adopt this technique into their games. So in any given position where you need to find a good plan, Silman suggests this technique, which consists of 5 steps. Step number 1, figure out all positive and negative imbalances for both sides. Step number 2, decide which part of the board you want to play, on the king side, in the center, or on the queen side. And the important here is to note that you can only play on a part of the board where a positive imbalance for you exists, or where it is at least possible to create one. Step number 3, find some dream positions you would like to achieve, positions from where you would be able to win the game. You should not calculate anything at this step. 4, figure out if any of the dream positions are possible. If one or more of the positions are, then you can go to step number 5. Otherwise you must find new dream positions and go back to step number 3. And step number 5, look at candidate moves that would lead to one or more of the dream positions. And once you've found these candidate moves, you have to calculate them to find a useful move to play in the game. So this is the thinking technique, and let's try to use it on this position where we are playing the white pieces. And let's start with the step number 1. Positive imbalances for white are that he has a pawn majority on the king side. He has 5 pawns against 4. He has more space on the king side. He has this very active queen against a much more passive black queen. This is probably the main imbalance of the game. And it's very easy for white to advance his kingside pawns, while the black kingside pawns are blocked. We can also say that the white rook controls the d-file and the third rank, and the negative imbalances for white are that black is having a pawn majority on the queen side, and the black rook is controlling the a-file and the 8th rank. The queen is controlling some important entry squares, d7 and d8, and it also controls c6, which could be important if black wants to play c6 to create a passed pawn on the queen side. So we can say that all positive imbalances for white are on the king side. So clearly white should find a plan that is on the king side. So in step number 3, let's try to find a dream position, a position that would lead to a win for white. And I think one quite obvious position could be something like this, where we have this open h-file. The white queen dominates the black king, and white would be able to play his rook to h8 and create a checkmate situation. This would be a dream scenario for white. Another very good scenario for white would be something like this. In this case, it's not the h-file that is open, it's the g-file, and the rook is in the g-file here. And again, the white pieces are dominating the black king, which is very exposed, and this should also be a winning position for white. So it seems that useful plans should be to try to open up the g-file or the h-file. And it seems possible from this position to open up the g-file or h-file. So let's try to find some candidate moves. One candidate move in this position could be to play f3 to prepare g4. Black would probably play c6 to try to create his passed pawn on the queen side. And if we continue with g4, then c takes b5, then we could take on h5 to open up the g file, and if g takes, then we could play queen g5 check, king f8, c takes b5. This is good in the sense that we have opened up the g file, but and we can get the rook to the g file as well. A little bit slow, but it should be possible. So I think this is looking fairly good for white, although black has this counterplay with his protected pass pawn in the c file. So a little unclear, but probably better for white. So f3 looks like a good candidate move that could be playable. Another candidate move is to play g4 immediately, and if h takes g4, then we could probably play h5 to open up the h file, and this looks interesting. If g takes h5, then we can give a check on g5 and then pick up the h pawn, and now the h file is open. And if black king tries to go away, then we give a check, and we can give some checks, and then we actually end up in this dream position we spoke of before, where the white queen is dominating the black king, and the h file is now open for the rook. But black is of course not forced to take on h5. He could play queen f8 instead, and then we can take on h6, and again the h file is open. So this is also looking quite promising. And so if h takes g4, then h5 is looking a good move. But of course black could also play other things. He could play c6 and try to pursue his plans of creating this pass pawn on the queen side. We'll take on h5, he takes on b5, and now we can play h6 here, create some mate threats on g7, which has to be covered by queen f8, and then we can play rook d7. This is looking very strong. h7 check is a threat, and then if king takes, then rook takes f7, and the black queen is lost. So c6 won't work here. Perhaps queen f8. Then again we take on h5, and after queen g7, perhaps then we can play queen e7, and we will have now threaten to take the pawn on c7, and the black queen is no longer controlling c6. So, and he cannot take on h5 here, because then rook will simply go to, let's see, then the rook g3, and then the black queen would be lost. So there are a lot of lines, and some calculation is needed here, but it looks like g4 is a very good move in all variations. So g4 is probably the plan, and if h takes g4, then h5. And this was indeed what happened in the game. Fine Becker from 1936. And this is a rather simple example, but still with some calculations in it to show you how the Silman's thinking technique is working in practical play. I admit that the technique does seem a little complicated and perhaps not that easy to adapt to your own game, but it can be quite a useful tool to structure your thoughts. I think the technique was good in the sense that it was quite easy to determine that white had to play on the king side, and it was also fairly clear that white had to open up the h or the g file, and the move g4 or perhaps f3 followed by g4 was the way to do this. So this was Silman's thinking technique in action. Hope you enjoyed this little video, and I hope to see you on my blog at klausjensen.com. Bye bye for now.